But you cannot start with the sunnah and leave the farz out. This is very, very important. So in our daily lives these days, we find that, some brothers are doing extra sunnah and leaving out, for instance, helping others, or helping others and being engaged in serving the community is more important for the people than doing extra salah or extra siyam. When you are serving brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be serving you and fulfilling your needs. This is more important. There is in the athar that if a hakim, if a ruler sits and he does 1 hour of justice, is better than praying extra prayer for 100 years. Because establishing justice is a priority in Islam. Doing justice is very, very important and essential in our deen. So these days, instead of some of us trying to work on the minor issues then and seeking the differences, minor differences, and focusing on them and eventually spending so much time on those issues, we should be focusing how can we build a better economy? How can we build alternative ways to the ways of non-Muslims that are haram for us? This is a priority. This is a must because riba is haram. Interest is haram, but we have to find ways that are Islamically acceptable to develop the economy. It's very important that we do that. And we talked about that when we talked about the economy. The same thing with the political system. When you are using your time to really do good deeds in terms of the government, in terms of the developing institutions that are Islamically sanctioned, acceptable Islamically, then you are doing a lot more or really focusing on the priorities that people need to be focusing on. We have a problem sometimes when some brothers, they think they're focusing on minor issues and we look at them and in a way we encourage them by saying, oh mashallah, this brother is very strong in Iman. Why is he strong in Iman? Because he is rigid, he is very strict in the minor issues. He looks at the minor and says, no, this is the way you should do it, this is the way you should do it. And then we are leaving out the major issues. This is a problem. Not all brothers and some sisters do that. We encourage them inadvertently by saying, yeah, this is a good brother because he is working on that. I think a much more powerful brother is somebody who is developing an economic theory to let us away from the theory of interest and riba. Somebody who is trying to find a way for the brothers and sisters to buy houses that is in an Islamic way. It's much, much more important than spending hours of salah in the masjid or just sitting and reading the Quran and then maybe he doesn't understand anything of what he read. Those are the priorities that they have to be clear in our minds. That person who is sitting in the lab and trying to develop medical things for people, this will get a lot more reward than somebody who is just making Qiyam al-Layl. Why? Because with Qiyam al-Layl, it's only the individual will benefit. But when he develops any kind of medications, any kind of economic theory, any kind of social theory, any kind of study of history, that people will benefit from it. All the humanity will benefit from that. So it is very important, inshallah, to carry this in our minds, that not all issues are equal in Islam. We have to prioritize because we do not have enough time. When we have enough time, that's fine. You can argue about, how do you pray? Do you read the Fatiha? Do you read after the Imam? You do not read after the Imam? Do you put your hands this way or that way? You can talk about these issues, but not at this point. I think at this point, it's really anti-Islamic to be talking about minor issues. And this is very strong, I know. This is very strong to say. But brothers and sisters, we are in a very bad condition as an ummah. And unless we realize that we have to change our priorities, we will not change. We will not change. We think somebody who is doing again, working on the minor issues, we think, alhamdulillah, he or she has fulfilled their requirements and they do not have to do anything. We are wasting so much time We are wasting so much time in our daily lives. As the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in the hadith, شَيْئَانِ مَغْبُونٌ فِيهِمَا كَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ الصِّحَّةُ وَالْفَرَاغُ. So I think that a lot of people are wasting or not taking advantage of. They're losing الصحة, health, and free time. A lot of people, when they're healthy, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then when they get sick, they say, oh, I wish I'm able to do things. For brother, alhamdulillah, you are living healthy life. Why don't you use it now? And when you have free time, also the same thing. People will think about, oh, I want to do this and do that, when they do not have time. But when they have time, then they waste their time on minor issues. So I hope, inshallah, that we make sure that our time is utilized according to the priorities of our community, to the priorities of the global community, to the priorities of, inshallah, doing good deeds for all of the humanity, because that's our deen. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. I emphasize this all the time because this is the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We did not send you except as mercy for all of the humanity. Do we realize that? Do we realize our message? That it is so strong in developing things, in doing things for all the humanity, so inshallah people will be living a better life. I just want to mention the gradual application here, or the gradual thing for people in terms of priorities. For some people, if they have reached high levels of, mashallah, doing things, we can say, okay, for you, brother, maybe the priority now is to do, the nawafil, the extra things. If you have that time and you really achieved and used your time in establishing all the major issues in the deen and in the ummah, and I doubt that any of us is at that level. But for many brothers and many sisters who are newly practicing, or for brothers and sisters who came into this deen, the priority is to fulfill the major requirements. And with that, we need a lot of knowledge. Unless we know our deen, then we mix things up. We think that if you are, not dressing properly, with the cap, for instance, is part of salah. If you do not have your cap on, your salah is not accepted, and this becomes a big deal. If you do not have lihya, then this is a very big deal. It is the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Definitely it's the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to have a beard. But does that take priority over establishing justice? Does that take priority over, serving people? I wish that people, will realize these things, and then inshallah, this is by studying Islam, they will know the different levels of halal again, and mandoob, and the mubah, the allowed, and the makruh, and the haram, so that they put their effort where it's supposed to go. And that way, inshallah, we can do a lot of good things. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us see haqq as haqq, and that we are following that. And to see batil as batil, and that we abstain from that. And that we are using our time wisely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for establishing Islam on the pillars that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted those pillars. They're called pillars of Islam, and they're not only the pillars in terms of salah and siyam, those are the pillars, but also there are many other pillars in terms of eventually resurrecting this ummah. To resurrect this ummah is very important. To study the way nations rise and fall. This is very important. Social pillars, economic pillars, political pillars, spiritual pillars. All kinds of important things are needed in our community, and I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show us the way so that we are doing those things. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I just have a few announcements, inshallah.